Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We want to remind everybody that Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media for the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you tonight by Casey Fox. For all of your artwork, commissions, and cosplay needs, be sure to check out Casey Fox, that's KAYCIFOXX, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug Engler. I am the host of Anime-Zing Radio. Joining me, as always, are my two esteemed co-hosts, Angela Rose and Darren Starling.
Hello, everybody.
Evening.
We are joined by a very special guest co-host who won the opportunity to join us tonight, courtesy of a contest we ran at Rail City Fan Fest back in St. Albans, Vermont, about a month or so ago. Please welcome Rick from Nerd Urbanity.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
And of course, the man of the hour, we are really excited to have this very talented voice actor joining us. We met him at PucciCon back in mid-May, and it is so cool that he reached out to come on the show. Please welcome the voice of Kaeya, Josey McCoy.
How's it going, y'all? I'm happy to be here.
The wonders of live podcasting. You screw up, everybody.
You gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Always.
Yep.
And I thank you so much, Josey, for reaching out to me. And I have to tell you this story, and I wanted to wait to tell it on air because it's very, very comedic. When you emailed me, I just saw Kaeya from Genshin Impact and thought you were a cosplayer because I didn't read the name of who it was from, because there was a ton of cosplayers from Genshin Impact at PucciCon.
There were, and some really good Kaeyas, yeah, for real.
And so I didn't put two and two together until after the first email went out. And it, like I said, it was literally like 2 days after Anime Boston, which was a huge convention. We were pressed for that. We were running around. During one of the press panels, I actually asked Griffin Burns what media outlet he was with, because wearing a mask, standing outside of the press room, I had no idea that he was the guest.
I was there. I witnessed this. I'm laughing.
So
I'm sure he loved
twice in 3 days, I made myself look like an ass to a voice actor. So,
But you know what? We're only human.
That's right. That's exactly what I was gonna say. I didn't feel slighted at all. We're all human. I do the same stuff.
and you said you had just come from a con, so you understood con brain. So
yeah, I was still in the haze from just being a guest or being a fan at Star Wars Celebration down in Anaheim. So I was just yeah.
and
One of these years, I'll actually do one of the Star Wars things.
Yeah.
I just can't justify the money because I'd be going by myself.
right. I actually got to take my son this time, one of the days, which is really fun. But yeah, it's usually just me. Luckily, though, we all know those con feelings. Like you never feel like you're alone. You meet people for the first time and they're your best friends.
Yup.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I like the cons so much, because you have an opportunity to meet people that are doing exactly as they feel and be perfectly themselves, and they're just genuinely happy to be around people that are have some of the similar ideals as they. I mean, it's a really fun, chill, just vibrant, spectacle of madness, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
It is chaos. It is amazing.
Yes.
it's a feeling like no other, in all honesty.
Yeah, I heard about all this and then experienced it firsthand as a fan at Star Wars Celebration like 7 years ago, and then going to cons now as a guest, like it's just so fun, and to see people kind of come in and out, and they're different costumes each day. Like the creativity is just
my goodness.
Yeah, it's out of this world. It's so cool.
Especially when you see people dressed up like you.
It's pretty neat. And then some people are like 100% in character too, and they're just going for it. They know all my lines better than I do most of the time. So yeah, it's so much fun.
speaking of that, since this is the first time I had a chance to talk to you, how long would you say that you spend in the studio to perfect the lines the way that you do?
It really varies, and it varies from project to project and from director to director how they work. Some people like only 2 takes, and then they'll see if they can pull from that. Some people like 3. And sometimes you'll also I'll hear something and they'll play it back, and I'm like, you know what? Let me do it one more time because I think I can do it better than that. And sometimes they'll agree, and we'll do it again. But it's it really runs the gamut.
And a comment from our audience, Mario says, "Can I just take a second to say Josey is madly talented?"
Thank you, Mario. Too kind.
Mario is one of our awesome listeners. He has been following the show for years.
Cool.
We've been doing the show for over 8 years, which still blows my mind that I've stuck with something this long. And it's been a wonderful ride, especially getting to meet up and coming voice actors like yourself, and knowing. You mentioned in an email that it feels weird to come onto an anime style podcast where you're a new face in voice acting, but we have a lot of respect for the work you do as a voice actor, because voice acting isn't just anime, it's everywhere. It's anything animated, it's commercials, everything that we see on a daily basis. What was your interest and what got you fascinated about getting into acting and specifically voice acting?
That's so kind of you, and that really is not only a feeling that because you can say that, but it's backed up. I went to PucciCon, and it was such a focus. All the panels were focused on anime, but no one cared that I was a newbie. It was just fun to be there, to ask questions, to have laughs with each other. But to answer your question, I knew that I wanted to perform from an early age. We had a theater back home that was an outdoor theater called Jenny Wiley Theater in Prestonsburg, Kentucky, which is very close to my hometown of Inez, Kentucky. And is that funny? Kids over there laughing. But we did summer theater, my sister and I, and she got her start before I did, and I watched her and obsessed over it. And her first show was Wizard of Oz in the Lullaby League, and 4 years later, I was in the Lollipop Guild in the Wizard of Oz when they did it 4 years later. So I knew from an extremely early age, this is fun. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy not only being on stage, but being in the audience and watching it. I just loved it. And then I actually went to college for broadcast journalism. Because I think once my voice changed, I was telling the story the other day to a friend, actually, that once my voice changed, I was like, I never want to sing again in an audition. I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with that stress. And I was like, let's do something else. And sports journalism is actually what I really wanted to do with school. And then a little over halfway through school, which I really enjoyed, I was kind of like, what's the theater department up to right now? And so I ended up minoring in theater and pursuing performance. And I wasn't sure if it was New York or LA, and I eventually decided on Los Angeles. Now, meanwhile, for the 10 years leading up to this, I was watching lots of Adult Swim, lots of obviously lots of Family Guy. That was my time coming up, the beginning of Family Guy and things like that. So voice acting and imitation were always really, really fun to me. Saturday Night Live, I was a huge Saturday Night Live fan. So imitating people became something that was very fun to me. And not in a mocking way, because as my dad taught me at an early age, imitation is the highest form of flattery. So if I'm doing an impression of you, it's because I have enough respect to try to take in those things. At least that's the way I like to say it. But so trying to emulate voices was always fun. And like I said, watching Adult Swim growing up, it was so cool. It was such an interesting medium that being in Kentucky, I didn't have a quick pathway to voiceover by any means. But but luckily pursuing performance, continuing that, and just sort of getting my foot in the door in different places, I wound up auditioning for and booking my first role was my first voiceover role was for Monster High, the which was originally like a Nickelodeon series, and they did some movies, and I was in one of them. Yeah, and I was in one of the movies, couple characters, and then Ever After High, and then a long hiatus because I was doing a great, wonderful stage gig here in Los Angeles that the show's closed now. Frozen Live at the Hyperion at Disneyland. Anybody ever came to see it? I was one of the Olafs, so that had me very busy for over 4 years, back and forth from whether it be North Hollywood where I was living or now Burbank, and back and forth to Anaheim. And the commute was absolutely worth it. It was an amazing gig, very fun. But luckily, close to right before the pandemic began, I started work on a little project called Genshin Impact, and I had just actually gotten a new voiceover agent about probably 6 months, 8 months before I booked it, and so working with them for under a year, I got my foot in the door with Genshin and a couple other things, and then, like I said, the show closed that I was doing, so this was a nice. I feel like I had a slightly gentler transition, maybe than I. Lots of people were kind of jolted into a new workforce, but luckily Genshin had me with my foot in the door and a couple other gigs that are still under wraps. So one of them I still can't talk about. I'm excited to announce when I can, but so that's kind of how I got here. I still feel like a noob, that's for sure.
And does it amaze you at how fast and how big Genshin Impact has grown to a YouTuber that Angela and I both watch, Gigic, makes jokes on a regular basis of if you go to a convention, every third cosplayer is a Genshin Impact cosplayer.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because I've pre-pandemic, that was the truth for League of Legends.
Okay.
League of Legends was if I didn't recognize the cosplay, 80-20, it was League.
Yeah.
Now, post-pandemic, it is Genshin.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, what's that? Oh, it's Genshin Impact.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And given work, life, the universe, everything, that's not a game I've had any chance to sit down with.
Yeah, well, and because it's one of those that if you sit down with it, you might sit down with it for eternity.
And I have enough games that I have put 100 plus hours into.
Exactly. Too many eternity games for you.
And much like Angela, time, universe, everything with conventions and stuff going on, I don't have time to sit down and play games like I would like to. Like I said, I got about 2 hours into Genshin, basically enough so I could get to your character. And one thing I have to give a compliment to Genshin Impact on, and not a lot of games do this, is the in-game bonus content of you get a character, not only they give you the sound bites, but they also promote who the voice of the character is, which you don't see that in a lot of other games where there's voiceover work done. You'll see it in the credit at the end, but it's like you click on Kaeya, and it says voiced by Josey McCoy.
Yeah, and then you can switch to the Japanese version. You can hear their actor. It's really cool. I know it, and you talk about how fast it grew. Like we knew it was going to be cool. We knew it was open world. We knew it was from some of the very, very early storyboards, we could tell that open world was kind of almost Zelda-like, and so we knew it was going to be cool, but I sure didn't, and I think that I could probably safely speak for everybody in that starting 15, starting 20, that we didn't know at all how big it was going to be.
But with Kaeya, you've created a memorable character, and that was one of the biggest aspects of it, because what people have a tendency to forget is like you create an emotional reaction when it comes with that character, and so and always astounds me how when you'll see different anime or video games or things like that, like when you see Batman in a video game, you wait to hear that specific voice with Batman in the video game or Batman with the TV show. When you hear Genshin Impact and Kaeya, you want to hear Josey. And the thing is, fans will know if something happens and the voice is changed and they don't like it.
Oh, so man, yeah.
Being able to create that very memorable character is an amazing thing. And I honestly have always wanted to ask, once I get a chance to sit down with amazing voice actors, how did you come to that type of voice for that character? What was the mindset that went in?
I think they give such good descriptions most of the time. Sometimes it's very short. Sometimes it's like, teenager, lanky, not confident, and you're like, okay, I'll roll with that. I used to be one of those. But then another time, like with something like, which by the way, speaking of the fans, I'm sure they'll want me to say Kaeya is the correct pronunciation.
Kaeya.
Out of full respect, but Kaeya. Yeah.
I'm bad at butchering names, so definitely correct me anytime I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great.
And Jams in the chat says, "Hey all, hi Josey, it's Joe."
Nice. That's my Twitter. I mean, my Twitch mod, and one of the best Discord mods you could ever have.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jams. If you enjoyed the show tonight, hit that subscribe button. Join our family here at AZR. We have a lot of amazing guests who are going to be joining us in future dates. And, Josey, it is one thing that I've always complimented voice actors on is your ability to bring a character to life using just one form of acting. And that's just your voice. People can't see you. It's not up on stage where you have to portray a certain role. You're acting out, body movements and stuff. You've got to make these characters feel real to life, and fans just fall in love with them using just your voice. And with Kaeya, you do an amazing job with that.
Oh, thank you. That's that challenge that I sort of, that's what I take it to be, sort of the challenge. It's very fun to take on that challenge, and sort of it's all about intention. And going back to what you were asking, as far as like for Kaeya specifically, I remember they had a photo of him, a simple like early on photo of Kaeya, and a pretty well drawn out description. I don't remember specifically what it said, but I do remember it didn't say snarky, but it sort of gave me that feeling that he was just like a little bit like fake full of himself, like he knows he's good and he's gonna like talk about it, but like he's also gonna be your friend, so and literally just looking at the photos sort of helped me think about, because there was an eye patch in the photo, and at the time I was playing lots of Sea of Thieves, so I was like, but not pirate, but so that's sort of where I went to with that. And then as far as like just the one medium, and that challenge, that's my favorite part of acting. It's the intention and trying to nail that down, to solidify that in some way, whether it be for the character or for the people watching, listening, whatever it may be. So with the voice acting, it is the extra challenge of not being able to use your body. In musical theater, we're using our bodies. When you can't talk anymore, you sing. When you can't sing anymore because that's not enough, you dance, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of bringing that all down into one. And, of course, the accentuation of the brilliant artists and designers of the game, because sometimes you're able to see some artwork of, especially like special portions, you might see some early stuff, that always helps. But just trying to get that intention and having the script ahead of time is something that I love. Like if I've got it literally one night in advance, if I can just look through it and sleep on it, and then and read it several more times the next day. It's just I love trying to convey what they want me to the way that it's written. And what I mean by that is like whether it's an or an or an like I want to nail those down and find out why it's that. And because I believe that each one of those is different. And I believe that an interruption in speech is different than a trailing off of, so when there are ellipses versus a hyphen, like those mean different things. So I love to try to give the director and give the team exactly what they want and give the fans exactly what they want, with as efficient as possible, sort of. So that's the intent is always just the fun challenge for me.
Hello, Pancake Girly. Yes, we have Josey McCoy joining us, the voice of Kaeya from Genshin Impact. It's an honor to have him on the show. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuning in. It's awesome to see some new faces in here.
To piggyback and backtrack just a little bit on something that you said, and not to take anything away from you, when you talked about the artistry of the environment, it's I always thought it was something that was very brilliant. That's something that becomes very synonymous with that one specific a game or anime, where you see it and it's like immediately that's Genshin Impact, or that's One Punch Man, or that's One Piece. You know exactly what that backdrop, what that artistry is. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of the time and intricacy that it takes to create an in-depth world that you can feel like you actually live in while you're either playing it or while you're watching it.
Yeah, it's fun to drop into that world in sessions and sort of be a because I feel a little giddy when I get to see a video of something that I have to put audio to, and it's months ahead of time or something, et cetera, years in some cases as in certain games or shows, and so it's very cool to, like I said, to drop into that and sort of live in that world, because those designers and the directors, they live in that world, so it's so fun to be a little tourist for a minute to try to because and you talk about the intent, when you get to see these characters and when you are putting a voice into these characters, you have to think like they're people, so even though you're not on a stage and singing a song and doing a dance, like Kaeya could if he really wanted to, so you have to think, okay, well, what would they be doing and how would they be moving and what would they be doing with their face, perhaps? So it's fun it's an honor, really, to drop into those worlds, to live in there for just a little bit.
So hypothetical.
Yeah.
If, as we're seeing a lot more announcements for live action adaptations of various video game and animated media, if they did a live action Genshin Impact, how would you react, or how would you interpret your character?
Put me in, coach. Put me in. Yeah, that would be something. I mean, even on a smaller scale, people have said like, would you ever cosplay Kaeya? Like, heck yeah. I mean, that's like not my best medium, but I do have a friend who I think I'm like, we should cosplay Kaeya and D-Luke, and I think it'd be really fun because he's an incredible cosplayer. Chris Villain, shout out to Chris Villain. But yeah, I mean, I would love to talk about literally dropping into a world and like living in that space. That'd be so fun. That'd be live action Genshin. Yeah, give it to us.
And knowing that you're an LA-based voice actor, when I'm curious as to which studio you recorded at for the Genshin Impact, because we know a couple of studios out there. In fact, we've had Bang Zoom Entertainment on the show, so I was curious if they had any help in the making of that or not.
Not Bang Zoom. No kidding. I live just around the corner from the closest Bang Zoom studio is, I don't know, a 2-minute walk around the corner from my house here in Burbank. And yeah, it's pretty fun. But I still haven't recorded there for anything. I'd love to just walk right there. And I've done different studios all over town for Genshin and for different projects. But the closest I've worked, and not even for Genshin, closest I've worked was a little past that Bang Zoom studio and across the street. So like an 8-minute walk, which was really fun. I decided to just stroll over there.
So, given the pandemic,
Yeah.
and you said you got into voice acting around the time that started.
Yeah.
Did you start voice acting from home, or were you in a studio first and then had to transition?
Totally in studio. So like, 2019. Yeah, everything was in studio. Everything was hunky dory. We didn't know what any kind of COVID was. Even though it had existed for a long time, we didn't know. But then, I guess, let's see, March. I was actually on my paternity leave from Disney when, as I call it, the world shut down. I had 1 week left. 1 week. And they were like, we're closing Frozen for 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks while this all calms down. And then I was like, cool, I'll go back to work after that. Womp womp. Show closed. And I have been lucky enough. I've only done a few in-home sessions. I prefer to work in studio. Like I said, I've got a kid who was born 6 months before the pandemic began. And he has lots of pre-existing conditions as well. So, and an oxygen machine while he sleeps. So there's just lots of noises here that I think that a studio would be a safer sound space for them to worry about. So I have always preferred to go in when possible, and have always felt safe. Because you talk about isolated. You're in a little booth by yourself, and on the other side of the glass is an engineer, and then typically anybody else that's going to be working on the session, Skyping in from, whether it be from down the street at their house or from across the world. So, yeah.
And question that came in from the chat room, Jams asked, actually, I've always wondered if Josey would want to aim for even bigger roles like, say, an anime in the future.
Oh, yeah. Always. It's very fun to see what comes across my computer screen, if you will, as far as auditions go, because it really runs the gamut of stuff you've never heard about, stuff that's, very, very small things. Like some of them are even commercials for mobile games. So it's not even the mobile game itself. It's the commercial for the mobile game. And everything's so fun. But also, gosh, I kind of lost track. What was the original question?
If you'd wanted to do
yeah. So it's very fun to see when things come across your desk, and they're for things like Cartoon Network, whether it be some new Disney project or something, and you don't know what it is. All the stuff is so code named, and all the names are changed. All the places are changed, and the names of the places. But I would love to do any and all of it. And I just recently announced my first television animated gig, which is Bat Wheels. It's going to be on HBO Max and Cartoon Network under their Cartoonito banner, which is their preschool banner. And it's set in the Batman world in Gotham City, where they have the computer has created all of these cars and the likenesses of all the heroes. And so, of course, the villains have to do the same.
Awesome.
And I play the Riddler's helicopter quiz.
That's awesome.
Of course.
Congrats on that.
Thank you.
That is awesome.
It's gonna be a hoot.
Oh gosh.
And any of our friends,
That's like so much fun.
And featuring our good friend Griffin Burns as well.
awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm going to see him at an upcoming. Actually, I think he's at a guest at PucciCon next weekend.
Yeah, maybe so.
Oh, that would be funny.
Yeah.
We can try to make up for our flububs at Anime Boston because
Yep.
Ange had her own mistake.
Well, no,
She
mine
got
wasn't
called
a
out.
mistake.
You just got called out.
I just got called out for running my mouth again.
And he is going to be a guest at PucciCon in Teaneck, New Jersey next weekend, along with Aaron Campbell, who was at the last one. We'll actually have Aaron as a guest on the show September 4th.
Oh, cool.
So it's going to be a lot of fun reconnecting with Aaron again. And
so fun to meet him at PucciCon. Man, everybody's amazing
So,
in the community. Yeah.
so I'm just going to point out some fun entertainment from the comments. Imagine Josie in a Dragon Ball game.
Anything. Hit me with it. Drop me in that world for a day.
he'll go Super Saiyan on you.
Well, I gotta ask. I mean, when of course I'm a fan of yours, but I gotta ask, who in the voice acting community would you be a fan of?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be on the same cast list in Batwheels with Tom Kenny.
Oh,
I mean, obviously is a legend, a living legend. Candy Milo, who obviously she was famous when I was growing up, watching Dexter's Lab.
mhm.
And then she randomly now I have done a musical with her daughter, so I sort of like randomly know her, but still I'm like, wow, she's amazing. Yeah, let's see who else. I mean, I think of I keep coming back to like SNL people, So
Mhm.
Phil Hartman, I mean, had a great voiceover career and just has that very classic voice, that Phil Hartman voice, that nobody can really replicate. But yeah. But thank you for saying that, being a fan of mine. And then I'll shout out our Batman in Batwheels is Ethan Hawke. So I am a fan of his. So.
No freaking.
Get out.
Yeah. You're telling me, like, when I found this out like months in, because I was like excited to be a part of it no matter what. And then they announced that he was playing Batman. I was like, oh.
Hands down, one of my favorite movies growing up was what was that one where they created the spaceship? Explorers. And I think Ethan Hawke, was the kid in that one.
Oh, nice.
And a comment that just came in from the chat room says, "Hi, Josie. I talked to you once and asked about voice acting. I'm excited you're getting more and more roles."
Ah, thank you, Lavender Rare. Very kind of you. I wonder where we spoke. Maybe it was on one of my streams, or maybe at PucciCon or Anime Impulse. I haven't been to too many cons.
Now, as an up-and-coming voice actor, especially where you're, as you mentioned before, you're new to the world of voice acting, new to the anime world and these conventions, how has it been adjusting to going to a convention as a guest and having fans come up to you and be like, "Oh my God, it's Josie. I need your autograph. You are amazing." As opposed to being the one fanboying over somebody else.
Yeah, being the one who's like, "Oh, excuse me, sir," because who was it that I ran into at Celebration? I was just like, "Ooh." Daniel, I can't remember his last name, but he played Boba Fett in the prequels. But I was just like, "Hey, man, what's up?" But transitioning to that is so fun because it's also very fun being a relatively newcomer in the voiceover world and people who've been doing it for a long time. I mean, there are so many people who wouldn't recognize Tom Kenny or Candy Milo even, but it's also very fun to sort of slowly have people figure it. So you kind of roll in and people might think that you're a fan as well and all this stuff, and then you're set up, and it's just it's kind of it's humbling for sure, but it's kind of mind-blowing when I'm like setting up my sign and setting up my table, and then the people in the line are like, oh, and they realize who it is, and I'm just like, I'm still kind of blown away by that. It's a very fun little early phenomenon that is fun to get used to. But it's also, you know, as we said, like we're all human, you know, so it's very fun to just have human conversations with the people when they come up to my table as well. Even if they're, especially if they're too nervous to talk, like then we can just stand there and we can say hi, and you know, we can take a photo, whatever it may be. I'm happy to do it all. Because that's another thing. Like you said, you don't know the emotional effect you can have on people, and that's those moments. Cons are really when you realize like um, how much the work you're doing can mean to people, and you want it to. When you're doing it in the booth, you want it to, obviously. But it's a hard thing because you do it and then you're done and you back away from it, and then when it comes out 6 months to 3 years later, it's hard to kind of reconnect to that space and understand if you did have that effect. But it's a really beautiful and touching thing to see that we do. And I know that I can say the same for my fellow castmates because they're also killing it in the booth.
And
Well,
I
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know a lot of voice actors. We've had many on the show over the past 8 years. I think we've had over 60 different voice actors. And, you know, it was so cool to hear some of the stories. Like Tia Ballard voiced a character in Attack on Titan that was a very, very small role. And she told the story on our show, I think one of the last couple of times she was on, where she went to a convention and a girl was dressed up as her character. She was in an RPG group for Attack on Titan, and Tia's character was who she chose to be because she related with that character. And Tia was like, I thought it was just like a background character. Nobody was going to pay attention to this person. And then I met a girl who was obsessed with my character. And it's like, you guys don't, when you're in the booth, you have no idea the kind of impact you're going to have on the fans of the show. And, you know, that's one reason that I love doing a podcast like this where I get to talk with you guys, because you are so impactful in the entertainment industry to millions of people that you will never understand just how big of a role you have, because obviously you can't hit every convention in the world.
Yeah.
So doing a show like this where people can come in, like I love the chat room coming in and people asking questions. We have another one that we're going to ask in after Rick asks his question, but you know, I really love to bring you guys on, especially finding the new voice actors. You know, we are the first official podcast interview for over 15 voice actors, including
Nice.
Megan Shipman, Anthony Bowling, Stephen Fu, Emmy Lowe, Danny Chambers. So some of the big names in anime right now, we found them when they had less than 5 named roles.
Yeah. So cool.
And Rick, you had a question.
Yes, I mean and to piggyback off what you said, I mean the impact that you create with something that, you know, you might not see, at least just yet, is it's amazing that you actually touch somebody's life in a way that, you know, has them progress and, you know, something in a manner that's different from what they were going to before. I mean, it's an incredibly impactful thing that you create. But as an artist, I've always wondered, because I do a lot of drawing and I do a lot of art myself, but I'm never really fully content with what I create. And have you ever been in a situation where you've created something, you've done a role, and you're just like, I could have done that just a little bit different, or I like this, but and mind you, it's after everything's done, everything's out, and you're just like, I like that, but I could have done that. I
could have done one more.
One more.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. And dealing with that, I don't have a good answer for how to deal with it, but I will say that absolutely it is something that I have experienced. And interestingly enough, last night on NPR, I heard an interview with Mr. Bean. And he's got a new series out, apparently, called Man vs. Bee.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing the announcement for that.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard anything about it, but he talked about how you would think that a lot of his performances are improv, and that he might just kind of do it and like maybe one or two times and then they'll figure it out from there. He's actually a little more like me. Like I said, I like to have a script. I like to know the story. I like to know what's going on. Even if I don't know the other person's lines, I like to know what I need to do. And they asked him about, do you ever, a very similar question of, like, how do you decide? Are you in on the creative process, and how do you decide we got it or we need to do one more? And his thing was, well, I think everyone around me knows that I can always do one more. Like you can always do a better one. And he kind of relies on the people around him to let him know it's not getting any funnier. Which is like, okay, cool. Like then maybe we've done what we can. So I think that I try to establish a relationship with the director, and I try not to be overbearing in any way. Sometimes I just want to be a fly on the wall as well in the working space, but I try to keep an open mind, let them know that I can always do one more. But I rely on them to have the confidence that they got what they've wanted, they got what is necessary. And then, as I said earlier, like I had a session the other day for a project, and I was like, no, you know what? No, just let me one more. Let me just try something, because I think this, if I say it this way, then it'll make more sense. Let me try it, and it worked, And sometimes it doesn't, and the other one's fine, and that's great. But yeah, I sort of related a little to Mr. Bean in that interview last night of, and I guess maybe that is how I deal with it, of trusting the people around you to be like, to know that I'm cool to do more, and I will always do more, and I will always try to give you what you want. But if they have the comfort to know that and still say, we got it, then I'm feeling pretty good. You know what I mean? And past that, I try to just shrug it off, because you could always do another one. You can always do another one, but it doesn't mean it's going to get any funnier or any better, I guess. Or any more real. Sometimes it's just more real. Sometimes there's like, no, there was a breath in there that like that's exactly where a breath should have been, and you can't even try to do it again, etc.
And question that came in from the chat room from Jam Jams. Another question for Josey. How do you feel about how far you've come in your voice acting journey compared to when you first started?
Gosh. Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I feel like when I first got my when I got my official start, I just absolutely knew nothing about the world. I felt so that new. And now I feel like I at least have a better foundation under me. I still sometimes feel like that noob, as I've expressed, but at least the foundation underneath me is a little stronger now to make me a little more confident in just a daily working kind of atmosphere.
One thing that I find really cool about the tone of your voice in, regarding to a question earlier about, would you be interested in anime? I can think of so many animes that your voice would have lent something very impactful to. And that's just from talking with you here and, watching so many animes. I've seen well over 300 to 400 animes in my life.
Yeah.
And, hearing the different characters. Obviously, early on, Funimation had a small group of English dub voice actors. So you got to hear to the point of you hear a scream, oh, that's Todd Habercorn. Or you hear somebody talk, it's, oh, that's Monica Rial. And some of these names are iconic. And their voices, regardless of how much they try to change them.
Yeah.
But having watched and listened to so many different animes, it's awesome to hear new voices come in, and you have a very unique voice that, like one of the comments in the chat here, you would be amazing in Demon Slayer, even though I'm not a fan of Demon Slayer. I think you would kill it in that anime.
Oh, thanks.
And that's someone who is a fan of Demon Slayer. I will agree.
Nice. Well, I know. I think Mark Whitten's got a role in there, and Mark Whitten's a good friend of mine. We've been on stage together, so I'd love to be in more projects with him.
I'll have to send your name to our friend Anthony Bowling, who's currently directing One Piece right now. So maybe we can see if he can get you
nice.
in there.
Yeah. Oh, that's on my list. That's like number 2 on my anime list right now. My
anime watch list is some level of ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I do have to make mention, with One Piece. How do you guys feel about One Piece ending?
Maybe I'll start watching it.
Gives you more time to catch up.
It's one of those ones that by the time I learned of its existence, there was so much and it was still ongoing that it was overwhelming to the point of I'm not gonna bother.
So many seasons.
Exactly.
So many different manga, so many different seasons. It's been on for so long. Amazing, iconic anime, but it's a bittersweet thing that is finally coming to an end.
Another suggestion from the chat is Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
Which I have not seen, but I've heard nothing but good things about.
I could hear him in My Hero too.
Yeah.
I could see him playing a villain.
See, I love it. Give me that. Give me the.
I could, I will agree with that.
Because My Hero Academia, I agree.
Like, do not take this the wrong way. You do kind of have that villain voice.
I take it in the best way. Thank you. Because I try to be a nice guy in life, so it's very fun to be able to give
another one of my favorite Star Wars actors from the recent stuff, Giancarlo Esposito, typecast as a villain. Like everything I've seen him in, he's been the bad guy.
Yeah.
But I was reading in interviews, he's like a giant teddy bear in real life.
Yeah. Gosh. I'm loving some of that new Star Wars stuff, y'all. I got to be honest. I'm loving it.
Same.
And I have to say that it was such an honor to get to meet you at PucciCon. Even though it was a brief passing by towards the end of the show, knowing everybody was cleaning up, because obviously having a table, we were there with a table doing live streaming during the event and everything. And as everybody was cleaning up, it was like, go around, hand out cards, introduce myself to you guys, because as I said before, I have a ton of respect for the work that you guys do as voice actors. And it's not just anime voice actors, as I said. All of you guys work hard regardless of the project that you're working on. And, I love having you come on the show so the fans can get to see the face behind the voice of the characters that they love.
Yeah, I know. I always loved to see that. I was just talking to somebody the other day about the behind the scenes footage of voice actors on, dating myself, but Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, seeing that stuff was so fun because you could tell how much fun they were having, and that it was hard. You could tell it wasn't easy, but to see that and to see them become this sound like this other person or this other being was so cool. So things like this are amazing. I love to do.
See. God damn it! I had a thought, and I lost it.
See, I was saying Rugrats. I was saying
no.
Rocko's
I am.
Modern Life.
See, I'm too old for that.
Pete and Pete.
I have.
I know
heard
it's
of
not a
these
cartoon,
shows.
but oh man.
I have heard of all of these, but that is my baby sister's era.
Okay, yeah.
And some of these are shows that I grew up in a daycare, so some of that stuff.
You probably got the tail end of it.
Yeah. I was catching the start of these shows as I was getting into high school and stuff like that, being like, okay, this stuff is a little too childish for me, but the kids
that's kind of me and SpongeBob, but luckily SpongeBob is for everybody.
My baby sister is 10 years younger than me, so she was the one watching Doug, Rugrats, all that stuff. I would be in and out because I was in high school by this point, and catching bits and pieces, and some of it was just like, oh, it's there, and some of it was just why. But
Even still, some of it's why.
well,
Yeah, of course.
I suppose it boils down to not my kind of humor.
Yes. Nickelodeon in general, probably.
SpongeBob specifically is one I never understood. But
yeah,
my type of Nickelodeon humor was going way back to the days of Danger Mouse. You can't do that on television. Double Dare. I mean, the original Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember when MTV first started.
Yep, me too. 70s baby, actually.
Born late 70s, sitting in the TV room with the younger of my two older sisters, staring at a blank screen, waiting for that first video to show up.
Wow, that's a fun memory.
Let's see,
I gotta ask now. When I was growing up, early 80s, I'll say, we were living in Canada. We're a military family, and first anime I saw, and I didn't realize it was anime. It was Robotech, and I was, it was. My parents couldn't understand why I enjoyed it. It was just something that was brilliant to me. However, I didn't see another anime until I got older, and the first real anime that got me interested in watching it was Akira and Vampire Hunter D, and that blew my mind. I've never seen anything like it. It was just iconic, and the imagery was just fantastic. And after that, it was done. I was hooked. What would be the anime, or even a game, or that was iconic enough for you to pull you into that world? And I'm talking to everybody. What was that?
Into the realm, if as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Into the realm of anime.
Probably Pokemon for me, honestly.
See,
both the cards and the game.
I actually have a similar story to you. My introduction to anime was grade 9. My best friend at the time had a part-time job working at Suncoast, and she just imported everything. She brought a set of VHS tapes to my house for a sleepover, and it was El Hazard. I couldn't tell you what it's about because I don't remember. I just remember my 4-year-old sister wandering down into the gratuitous, inappropriate scene for a 4-year-old, and we're trying to pause the tape. We're trying to pause it so she can't see anything. And then we had a falling out. I didn't see any anime until much, much later, so I'd actually have to say Serial Experiments Lane is probably what made me deep dive. Because that was during college. And we basically binged the entire 13 episodes during exam week.
Oh, nice.
For me, I would have to say, fun story. Used to go once a week to a friend's house, and we'd play penny poker. So we'd play Texas Hold'em with change,
Nice.
50-cent buy-in for the first one, but it was all pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters from there on out.
Yeah.
Go with a couple of bucks and change. I'd go with like $5, leave with $20 every week. But they would always have Adult Swim on in the background. So my introduction was Inuyasha, Witch Hunter Robin, Fooly Cooly, which then led to finding stuff online and being like, okay, Golden Boy, and some of these obscure. And then I fell away from it. Met a girl, got married, moved to Syracuse, New York. Started falling apart, going through a messy divorce. Had Netflix, came across an anime called Rosario Vampire. That is what really opened the gateway to me jumping wholeheartedly into the world of anime, because it helped me get through that messy divorce, starting with Rosario and then Girls Bravo, and then it just spiraled from there. Anything I could find on Netflix.
Doug, I'm beginning to realize that how we got into anime basically describes our differences in taste.
Yeah.
Because the psycho intellectual, like, just fucked up shit is the stuff I tend to seek out.
And I tend to seek out the fun-loving,
the girly stuff.
Like I said, the fun-loving slice of life, harem,
Where is
isekai stuff.
Whereas another one of my early ones was Gundam Wing, Gundam Wing, Razafon, all like the giant robot battles or stuff with a really good good plot.
I know on Adult Swim, I loved Trigun. That was Adult Swim
Trigun was
introduced me to
That was
amazing.
great.
That was I have almost every season on the wall over there, but yeah,
The movie was garbage.
I will say yes.
didn't see it. Didn't see it.
Don't waste your time.
I've
I
heard.
think we have Vash the Stampede's autograph on an art piece my wife did.
Sweet.
That being said, I believe that was one of the live actions that was recently announced.
Was it? See, and I think I love it too because it's like so Western,
But
and that's
so
the one thing I love
not.
about. Yeah, right, and it's something I love about the Mandalorian too. It's like a Western, but it's Star Wars, and yeah.
I just love the new Star Wars that they're doing so much more with the rest of the world and ignoring the Skywalkers for once.
Yeah. I think what
But-
Taika Waititi was saying, like, yeah, you're not gonna know any of the people. Basically, I'm gonna do the movie about no one you know in this world. They just happen to exist in the same universe. So.
And another question that comes in from our chat, Jam Jams asked, Josie, what is your dream voice acting role?
Well, Joe, this is a good transition, Jams, because I have always, I'm a Star Wars action figure collector, much to my parents' chagrin anyway. So I've always wanted, and growing up, like not necessarily wanting to fall into a voice acting realm, I wanted to do, and not knowing if there would ever be another Star Wars movie, I was like, man, it would be my dream to have a Star Wars action figure with my likeness. So obviously, like, that's the dream, but to voice a character in a Star Wars series that then had an action figure, oh man, that's that. And now I have a friend of mine who plays, oh my gosh, what is the new droid in Obi-Wan? The tall.
Oh, damn it! I know exactly the one you're talking about.
BD9?
I don't remember.
Something. Shoot. Sorry, Dustin, but a friend of mine is that character, and he's like 6'8".
Screw it, I'm looking it up.
Yeah, do it.
I'm trying to look right now because I know that in Japan they went to a bunch of different anime studios and they did Star Wars shorts. It was like a 9 or 10 episode series.
Oh,
and I don't know if it's been done.
Ned B. That's his name. The droid's name.
Nice.
Like my friend plays that character of the droid, doesn't have any lines, but I was texting him and I was like, man, when an action figure comes out for this, I am buying it. You are signing it. And then sure enough, like 2 days later, he was like, and I was like, pre-ordered, it's mine.
Now I'm not sure if Star Wars Visions has been dubbed. I think you can find it on Disney Plus.
It has been.
It has been. I have seen it. Yeah, I've seen it all.
Star Wars Visions was so good.
It really, really was. I mean, you talk about the creativity.
There was like there was like a couple of studios where you could tell immediately just from the opening art what studio it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose that's from a household where we watch way too much anime.
Right. Which, yeah, if you do watch that much, I'm sure you can tell. I couldn't, and I still adored every second.
I just loved the fact that the only thing any of the episodes had in common was they were the Star Wars universe. Like every episode was something completely different.
Yeah.
And it was a very Japanese take on an American franchise.
Yeah.
Which is not something we see a lot of.
No, it's not. And I love that Disney's like,
the other way around.
We're doing it and we're putting it out and you can see it whenever the hell you want, which is so fantastic. And then speaking of a newer, and this is an American look at an American project, but now it's animated. Diabolical. Do you guys watch The Boys?
Oh, I love The Boys.
The Boys is
just
fucking
We
$15.
just finished season 3,
It's so good.
and all I'm gonna say is, what the fuck?
What the fuck, indeed. And so I've just started watching Diabolical, and those are also in that same realm, little 15-minute shorts that all exist in the world of The Boys, and sometimes Homelander's there, and sometimes it's brand new stuff that you've never seen, but it's a riot.
So in Angela's mind, she likes it, so I probably wouldn't.
The Boys, it's very intense, very gruesome,
Incredibly.
and it's one of those, there is no, at the risk of spoilers, there is no good guy.
Right.
No, there's no punches pulled. There's no good guy. There's no.
It really, the closest, Starlight is probably the closest thing to a good guy.
Yeah.
And even she's not.
And even she's got her dark side.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Invincible?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
So
that was
when
another head trip.
Yeah, when I started watching it, I was like, well, hey, isn't this like kind of The Boys, you know? And then I like finished that first episode, and I was like, yes, but no.
And it's funny because I didn't do comics in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Growing up, my husband is a huge comic book nerd. Figured out why I thought I didn't like comics, and then started finding me comics that fit the genres I like.
The fucked up shit.
Well, some of it is like one of the ones we did, Watchmen, Lock and Key. Basically, what it was is because of how I grew up, my interpretation was comic books equal superheroes, and superheroes get boring and tropey, and there's in the 80s into the 90s, there were very few good female characters.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so subsequently, it was like, that was my interpretation. It's like, no, that's just what's popular. Here, try this.
Yeah. Yeah. So many different tastes.
Invisible would have to be one of those comic books where I actually saw the cartoon first, and I was like, I have to read this. I have to see more. I need to find out what the hell is going on with this. And as soon as I picked it up, I could not put it down because it just gets worse and worse. And worse.
Yeah, I like in a lot of media. I do like I like the existential dystopian type stuff.
It's that visceral take that they have on what a hero would be.
Yeah, especially the.
But are we really talking about a hero, or are we talking about an anti-hero?
What a hero in quotes.
But you know, and some of the stuff walks that fine line between hero, anti-hero, and villain.
Yeah, and straight up villain.
Because it's not always that clearly defined anymore.
Well, like in that show, like you have what is that woman in DC, the one that runs the Suicide Squad? What's her name?
Oh.
You have a character like her in Invincible, but he has no problem making sure that even the heroes die. He doesn't give a flying damn if they all die, not just the heroes or the villains or anything else. He has no problem killing everybody. But at least in DC, you're like, okay, well, we'll try to save the heroes. We'll just use the villains for, whatever we have going on here. And we don't care if they die.
Yeah.
Opposite. We don't care if they die. Oh,
yeah.
Every single one of them.
We have a new question coming from the chat room. It says, hi, from Tara Roth. Hi, Josey. Question for you. What was your reaction when you got the role voicing Kaeya? And have you played the game a bit to experience how well you did?
Yes, thank you, Tara. I have played. I was thrilled to book it. I've told the story before, too, that when I got the booking initially, I couldn't find my audio, my audition submission, and I was like, oh gosh, well I don't remember the voice I used exactly. So like, because it had been months and I hadn't heard, and that's something that was very new to me, because in musical theater you're auditioning, and then like 2 days later there might be a callback, and then you're gonna know with 2 days after that, and then you're probably gonna start rehearsal 2 weeks after that, and then you're gonna be done with it completely in 6 weeks. But in this case, like I didn't hear anything for months, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, congrats, you booked it." And I was like, "Oh shit, cool." So I tried to look that up, and I couldn't find it, and I was like, "Why can't?" And I was like, "Oh, I was going to my agency, and they were recording my auditions for me, and I was sending them from there because they had high tech equipment, all this great stuff." So I was like, "Hey, is there a voice reference for this?" And they happened to send it along with the next booking information. I was like, "Oh, great, that's right." So then, kind of fine tuning that and determining with Chris Faye, our fearless director, who Kaeya is, and figuring that out was so much fun. And then, yes, I have played. I actually played the beta for like 30 minutes when it first came out, because I was like, oh, I want to hear this, and I think I'm right near the beginning. And sure enough, I got to my character, heard some of the stuff, and I was like, what? This is crazy. And now when I play the full game now, I do it all on Twitch, and I think I've probably only logged 3 hours ish. It's a very surreal experience playing as Kaeya, and then you'll like take a break and you'll answer some questions in the chat, and then all of a sudden you hear, "I didn't know you were such a slacker." And I'm like, that's my voice. That's really weird. You're talking to me. You're talking to all these people. So that was a very fun little experience, kind of hearing that.
And Mild Hysterics says, Kaeya is the reason I started playing Genshin.
That's so cool. I mean, seeing things like that is so neat. You know, that's just not what any of us expected. So thank you so much for that comment. And you know, we knew the game was going to be fun. We knew it was going to be cool. I knew I was going to buy a copy of it and play it, etc. Who knew? I didn't know it was going to be free at the time. But to just hear those kinds of comments, and I mean, I'll hear from people that they play with the English voices because of Kaeya, because he's like their comfort character, and like it's just, you know, I mean, you know, you've said it over and over again. It's like you just don't know the impact you can have on people until you get those opportunities. So thank you for shouting that out.
Now, I know we've talked a lot about Genshin tonight, but you were a part of another pretty big franchise as well with Fire Emblem.
Yeah. And it's so funny too, because that's like conversely, like that was already this large world that was fully fledged out. And then Roche is my character. He kind of slid into this. He was already a character that existed in the world, but if I'm not mistaken, he had never had an English voice. So this was the first time that they were throwing an English voice on him. And I hadn't played any Fire Emblem, but I had so many friends that were a part of it. So now to be a part of that with them is a blast. Just to be a fly on the wall once again.
Now, is it really cool from your perspective as a voice actor? Be like, you know, I just go into a booth and kind of talk to myself, and you know, people do awesome things with my voice to make it sound so much better. Which, you know, we like to throw a shout out to all the audio engineers and the people behind the scenes. The voice actors go in and add the voices, but there's a lot of amazing people behind the scenes who, outside of a small credit roll, never get appreciation for the work they do.
So true.
So we really like to take the time to appreciate the work that the men and women behind the scenes do to bring these games, anime, cartoons, commercials, everything to light for our enjoyment, because we never think about that. We look at a game like Genshin Impact and say, oh, Kaeya is awesome. It sounds cool. A lot of people never look beyond the fact that the voice sounds cool. It matches the character. This is a fun game. Yeah. And then there's somebody like me who's like, I like this character. Love the voice actor. Who did the voice? How can I get in contact with them? and I do that for anime. I've done that for some video games, and there's a lot of voice actors I've reached out to that, either A, I haven't found contact information for, or B, they're, you guys have a busy life with trying to A, secure your next role, or B, get into the booth and record. Plus you have personal lives and you have a lot of stuff going on. And so when you guys take time out of your busy schedule to come hang out with us, it really means a lot to everybody here with Anime-Zing Radio. So from the bottom of my heart, I do thank you for taking the time and hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Truly my pleasure. And absolutely, I'm glad you shouted out engineers. I do my best to be as wonderful as I can to them when I'm in the booth, because as I said, it always is a very safe feeling, and the engineer is like kind of number one in making you feel safe, because they're wearing a mask. They have to come in and fix the microphone. They're going to mask up. They might even wear a face shield, all these things. They're in the trenches. So yeah, thanks for shouting them out.
And looking at more comments, Mild Hysteric said, same for me. I play in English because of Josey's portrayal of Kaeya. And also
So nice.
Grateful for everyone behind the scenes who bring our favorite games and media to life. So, it's so neat to get to talk with you tonight. And, coming from somebody who's interviewed many different voice actors and stuff, I still get those goosebumps. I still get those butterflies before the shows. And it doesn't matter.
Too.
It doesn't matter if it's somebody who is an up and coming who I may know very little about, or if it's a name that is huge in the voice acting industry. We've had some of the biggest names like Monica Rial and J. Michael Tatum and Brittany Karbowski, just to name a handful, who have been guests on the show. But I get nervous with them as much as I do getting nervous about talking with you about your career, and I am so excited to see where you go from here. I really, really hope that some of these anime studios take a listen to your voice, submit to Funimation, submit to Crunchyroll, submit to Sentai Filmworks. You need to get, with the voice you have, we need to hear you in anime.
Oh, thank you.
I agree.
And that's an honest opinion. Like I said, I can, even though there are shows that I may not watch, but are so popular, I know you would be a perfect fit for them.
Oh, it's so nice. Thank you. Thank you.
And I know I've said a few, and Angela and Rick have both agreed with me. Because apparently you guys watch the show, like the shonens. I'm not a huge shonen fan. I'll start them, but anything that's too long, I'm like, okay, I'm bored of this.
And I'm recognizing that I'm getting to, there's a subset of shonen that I just can't get into. And the ones that I absolutely adore. Like, I never got into any of the Dragon Ball stuff, never got into Naruto. Like, it has its place. I respect that. Just not my thing. Well,
I like how anime has actually been tailored for lots of people's I guess sensibilities, because everybody's has their own personality, and that kind of how we gravitate to one specific anime that's like really something that's impactful for us, because there's the izakais, or the shonen, the ones that are showing the magic girls, and me personally, I'm an isekai fan. I'm an isekai, and
not another one.
Darren's still awake.
That's these two.
I was wondering how long it was going to take you to figure out I've been awake this whole time.
I suspected, but
I saw the mute button come on and off for you, Darren, a few times, and you've been sitting over there quietly taking all this in. What's your impersonation of Josey from? I know that you work a lot more than I do. Darren has two jobs, much like myself, outside of doing the radio show stuff. So I know you haven't had a chance to check out Genshin, but you know of it. You've seen it at conventions. You've seen all the photos of cosplay and stuff. What is your opinion of Josey, just chatting with him tonight and getting to understand more about him as a voice actor?
I love it when you throw me on the spot like this.
Well, when you're that quiet, I have to do something. We need the people to know that Darren hasn't died yet.
Keywords yet.
I'm not dead yet.
I got better.
I feel happy.
Oh God.
We're bringing. Oh God, we really went down the Monty Python rabbit hole.
Yes, we did.
I'm so glad.
I love hate.
Oh, you know, I want to share a funny story since you mentioned the thing about the engineer and how you can, you know, they're doing amazing things with our voices and with the edits, et cetera, et cetera. When I did Ever After High, I played a character named Chase Redford, and he was the Red Knight, and he came in at the end of the first episode of 4, and I actually thought it was 2 episodes. So when it popped up on Netflix and was 4, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was trying to figure it out, and it was late at night, and I didn't know it was coming out. And I was like, oh, I got to hear this. So I got to my part, and at the end of episode 1, and the Red Knight shows up, and he's like, halt, who goes there? And like, it sounded absolutely nothing like me. It was not me. It was just of another world. And I was like, did they recast this? I don't even remember saying that line. Like, what the hell? And then I was like, I'm going to go to the next episode to watch more. And he's like, yes, you're not going to pass here. And then he throws open his mask, and it's like, oh, sorry, could you not hear me? Hi, I'm Chase. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. They did not tell me they were going to put that much. They just didn't tell me they were going to do that much effect. It's fine that they did, but woo, that was a good 4 minutes of just like sweat.
Now, getting your feet into the world of voice acting and everything, especially coming from the stage and theater background, now, has it been a big adaptation? Have you been able to take stuff that you knew from theater and apply it to voice acting and vice versa?
Definitely. I think, you know, I have, through my years of doing theater, I have taught classes to summer schools, theater schools, and I've done like workshops and things with people. And I feel like it, you know, we go back to my favorite thing about acting is the intention. Like, yes, all acting is reacting. Yes, it's all about what is said to you and how you're reacting and what you're saying to it, etc. Or just not necessarily what you're saying, but how you look physically, how you react to that physically. But I love trying to whittle all that down into just a voice, knowing that there's going to be a visual with, you know, the designers, the artists, like they're going to put that effort into it. There's going to be music behind it, but just really trying to nail that intention. And because there's not much worse than, as you said before, like, you know, you can always do it better. You can always do one more. You never want to see that product and think like, man, that was really the one they used, you know? But so getting to that intention as efficiently and earnestly and real as possible is a thrill for me, whether it's on stage, whether it's in a, you know, 30-second commercial, or whether it's a video game or TV animated series. Yeah.
I gotta apologize if you already asked the question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you have any stage projects coming up anytime?
Gosh, you know, I wish I did. Unfortunately, I was supposed to be doing a production of Sweeney Todd at a theater here in Southern California. I guess we were supposed to be doing that in May of 2020, and they pushed it to October of 2020, and then they pushed that to October of 2021, and then it just sort of disappeared off the face of the universe, and I haven't really heard anything about it. So fingers crossed that something like that is going to come across.
Gotta ask, what was your role?
Dude, Toby.
Oh.
No, I know. And like, I had pretty short hair pre-pandemic, and I remember thinking like, oh, Frozen's gonna be closed for a little bit, and I might just be going straight into rehearsals. I'm gonna let my hair grow. I'm gonna do this. So the Toby hair is still growing out.
Yeah.
You don't even have to wig me. Anybody out there doing Sweeney Todd, holler at your boy.
Matter of fact, wasn't there a Sweeney Todd actor that just passed away?
I don't know. From the Broadway show or from
Yes,
the movie?
I believe so. Yes, he's one of the actors that had worked with Adam Sandler, I believe, in some of his in I think like Big Daddy or something like that. But I believe he had just passed away.
Oh wow, yeah, and that original cast is incredible.
Now, going back to Genshin Impact, and you said you have a Twitch stream that you play a little bit on.
Yeah.
I'm curious, since you've gotten to your character in Genshin, do you solely use your character, or do you switch between them all?
I try to. I mean, obviously, it's very fun to play as Kaeya in general. I'm an ice guy. I always love Articuno. Are you kidding me? Articuno was the best legendary bird ever. So I've been an ice fan for a while, but sometimes you need some fire, and sometimes you need a bow. So I love anybody who has arrows. I mean, it's fun to play as Amber, and obviously I don't have any of the like amazing 5-star characters necessarily, but I try to switch between them. But in order to keep the fans happy, I'll play as Kaeya as much as possible.
And knowing that, Genshin Impact is a gacha game, and when I first announced that I was after PuchiCon in May, I did get the game and started to play it because I wanted to understand better, what Genshin was. Seeing, doing a podcast like this where we talk a lot of pop culture, not just anime, but we get into video games, comics, role-playing games, things of that nature. I wanted to have a better understanding of what is this game and why is it so popular. And I could tell right off the bat that the artwork was amazing. And I don't just look at the character artwork. I look at like the opening scene. How is the water flowing? How are the trees moving? Things of that nature, which, you can tell a high quality game when you can see the detail in the smallest, most boring part of the scenery.
Yeah.
If I walk up to a tree and you can see that the tree has texture, that a lot of time was put into something as, in many people's minds, something as stupid as a tree that, who cares what the tree looks like? It could be as generic as all hell, as long as the character looks cool. But I love how detail was put into all aspects of the game. And that kind of drew me in. But I also almost got yelled at by Angela when I told her I was playing it. But then I said I refuse to spend money on these style of games.
Yeah.
I don't have it. I'll put the initial investment in, but very rarely do I ever put any money in for expansion packs or things like that, unless I'm addicted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
I'm gonna jump to the chat. Tara's got one last question for you.
Yeah.
Josey, will you be at this Game Realms event that is happening in Burbank in a few weeks?
I believe so, actually. I have to get caught up on that. Game Realms is an amazing shop. It's my local video game store. And I went in and I actually bought my day one copy of Neo, The World Ends With You at that shop when it came out about a year ago. I think it was July 27th last year when that game came out. My Facebook memory showed up the other day. And I remember talking with them at Game Realms being like, yo, I voiced one of these characters. And they were like, cool, we have all these different events, so we'd love to get you involved. So I believe so. And hopefully I will see you there.
You mentioned earlier when we were talking about the anime that got us into things.
Yeah.
When you mentioned Pokemon.
Yeah.
I was actually stationed in Japan. I was active duty in the military when Pokemon first started coming out, and it's crazy for me to see something that, you know, we just kind of brushed by when it was just building into, you know, the now explosive
Yep.
conglomerate.
And
The,
see,
the most highest grossing entertainment out there. Where, I mean, would you like to see like your roles go from? Because, you know, we're Genshin Impact, it's huge now, but, you know, and it has the manga too. Where, you know, would you like to see either that or one of your other roles, one like the ones that you were kind of not allowed to talk about?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
the ones that
Go
you
from
are allowed
here,
to talk
you know,
about.
yeah.
you know, would you like to see him, you know, like progress, you know, towards the future? Because, like I said, Pokemon was this at the very beginning, and now
Yeah.
everywhere. And Genshin is here, you know, and you're part of something on the ground floor, part of something that's exploding. You know,
It feels like having Google stock in like 1997. You know, not that rich by any means at all, but it's still like, yeah. I mean, because wherever it goes,
Yeah.
I would love to be a part of it. And you know, they just announced Funko Pops are finally released of Paimon.
Mhm.
I think of Lumine and Ether as well. But I man, I mean, you talk about having an action figure of your character. I would take having a Funko Pop of my character as a really fun surprise, because I think Kaeya deserves it. But yeah, I mean, and then with
I
things with Bat Wheels, like I was such a huge Hot Wheels and Matchbox car kid growing up. Like, I have no idea, but I'm hoping that WB has a deal with with something, so I can get a little toy car, you know, or toy helicopter of my character. That
Well,
stuff's so cool.
with Genshin, you have the, like I said, the manga. I mean, did they ever announce that they're doing an anime? And if they do, definitely, you know, you
Yeah,
have to be
I
a
have.
part. I would love to see that entire world brought to life on another media.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I would love to do that. No matter the level, but I have no idea. I don't know how any of that works.
I mean, I definitely, it's an easy guy too, so definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Into
You're
immediately.
there. Yeah.
And going into the collectible side of things, you were talking about it would be so cool to have a Funko Pop of your figure. I've never fully understood the infatuation with the Funko Pops. Some of them I think look absolutely horrible, but I'm huge. I'm huge into the Nendroids, which are about the same size, and you can't see it on the shelf behind me. But I have a shelf that's got 5, 6, 7 Nendroids up there from different various animes and anime characters and whatnot. So I was actually just looking. I'm like, do they have Genshin figures for like Nendroids or things of that nature out right now? Because I would so get a Kaeya figure
Yeah.
just so the next time I see you to get you to sign it.
Absolutely. I would love to.
I
I would
have
love to
become-
just be able to put it on a shelf at my house in Kentucky for my parents, you know.
Because I have become a huge fan of yours. You know, when we met at PucciCon by chance, you know, walking by, and I was like, "Oh, hi, Josie. I'm Doug Engler," and you know, not really knowing much about who you were. Obviously, we only had a short conversation because so much was going on. The con had closed. You guys were packing up because you had to head back to LA from Pennsylvania and everything. But getting to chat with you tonight, I have honestly become a huge fan of yours as Josie, not just
Thanks.
as Kaeya. So I want to see you in more stuff, and really, I hope we can get you to more conventions up in the Northeast, because I would love to see you up here. I know a lot of people up here would love to see you up here again.
Yeah, for real. Absolutely. So nice of you.
I will say ditto that.
I do want to throw a shout out to Mild Hysterics. I was reading through the chat, and they put this up saying, I've garnered an interest in voice acting recently, and I'm trying to see how to enter the local industry. They're from Southeast Asia. So tuning into this interview is so informative and inspiring. So I hope, follow your dreams. If you can find a way in, do it. I know obviously, Josie, you can speak from experience. It's a lot of hard work to get into the industry, and expect a lot of no's. We hear that from every voice actor in their career. They get more no's than yeses. Don't be discouraged. Just keep pushing forward. I'm sure you've probably been asked a few times, what advice would you give for people like Mild Hysterics who are interested in getting into voice acting?
I mean, I absolutely agree, and I think sort of relating what I would tell Mild Hysterics to something you said tonight, Doug, about getting those goosebumps or those nervous feelings. Like, I think that I still get stage fright. But stage fright for me sort of like is always leading up. And maybe this is the same for you too, Doug, where it's like leading up to it, you're a little nervous, you're a little anxious about it. But then like as soon as it happens, you're like in the moment, it's very fun, love it. And I always try to channel that feeling to remind myself that feeling inside, that anxious feeling is just that I am doing the right thing. I'm exactly where I need to be. And it may be hard and it may be live and things may happen because life is weird, but keep following that and honestly, I guess keep striving for that feeling because I think it will lead you in the right direction. So yeah, just to work hard. It's absolutely you're gonna hear so many no's. I heard when I was doing a theater camp, actually teaching at a theater camp, they brought in a baseball player from a minor league baseball team to speak to us, and I had and I'm a big sports fan my whole life, but I had never related the batting average to auditions and booking roles and things like that.
Oh my God.
And it's true. I mean, if you are batting 300, which is 3 out of 10, if you're batting 300, that's really, 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 really good. If 3 out of 10 times you are auditioning for a musical or for a voiceover and you're getting 3 of those roles out of 10, like that's really good. It's also really good to do 2. And there are going to be days and weeks and months where you're booking 1 out of 10 or you're booking 0 out of 10. You're striking out, but you're still fighting to keep that batting average up and just sort of understanding your voice, knowing who you are and what people want to hear out of that voice will help increase that batting average.
That is an amazing analogy. I have never heard that before either.
Yeah.
And I wish I had, and as someone who did some low-level theater stuff in school,
Yeah,
and someone who grew up watching baseball, I never put 2 and 2 together either.
Never.
As soon as you said that, it just clicked.
not once. And that was the like star pitcher who came up with that one.
I remember growing up being a Boston Red Sox fan in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And the highlight
Yep.
was one guy coming this close and not making 400 at the end of the regular season. I think he ended the 99 season at
Was it
395, 398, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And see, that's just incredible.
And that was record-breaking and huge.
Yeah.
And then what did they do? They went and traded him halfway through 2004.
Ah, God. Who was that? Damon?
Nomar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, Josie, I'm going to be stealing that and using that with my kids. So thank you.
Absolutely. You just keep getting up there. No matter how many times you strike out, you keep going up to bat when the coach puts you in the lineup.
And another thing that I wanted to touch on that you started talking about, with the nerves leading up to it, anxiety, things of that nature. I had no idea that I did this until probably about 3 or 4 years ago at Anime Boston. Had a friend that was sharing the room with us who had been a guest on the radio show. She, in fact, had started her own podcast a couple different times. And, we met in person and, I started talking to her, and that without thinking of it, she's like, wow, you are so different from on the show to in person. It's almost like you turn into a radio personality once you hit that go live button.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that I had that like persona. It's like, doesn't matter what is going on in my life, doesn't matter if I'm, not feeling good, headache, I've dealt with depression for quite a while, especially since the start of the pandemic and stuff. But it's like when I get into show mode, I flip a switch, and it doesn't matter what issues I've had before the show. You know it's game time, and you want to put the best out there for the people who tune in and the people who come to watch the show or listen to your roles. And like you said, you want to provide the best that you can, and especially on our format where we do live. I don't do any edits after the fact. Everything you see on a replay is exactly what happens during the show. So when I screw up, it stays. I'm not going to hide the fact that I mess up. And since coming to YouTube, we used to broadcast on StreamYard all the time. And Darren remembers those days where I would screw up constantly, or Blog Talk would screw up. And when that stuff happens, you kind of have to laugh it off and just go with the punches. And we've had talking from a podcaster's point of view, we're a guest-heavy show. I love bringing on guests of all types. You said you have a friend who is an amazing cosplayer. We'd love to have them as a guest on the show because I love showcasing cosplayers, artists, musicians, gamers, anybody you can find at an anime or Comic-Con. I love bringing on the show because there are so many talented people out there who don't get recognition but deserve it. And having a platform like this where we can bring on cosplayers. We have 2 cosplayers that are booked coming up at the end of September. And,
Nice.
Being able... go ahead.
Case in point, last week we got to introduce people to tabletop role-playing for the first time because we did our guest, who's a comic book artist, designed his own role-play tabletop system. Now I have decades of tabletop experience. Doug has never touched it. So this was a whole lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah.
We are planning on doing it again. If you're interested in joining us, I can let you know when we get things set up.
Oh, for sure. Let me know.
Yes.
I've been in the D&D world 6 years. Since July of 2016, my group was formed.
Did you start with 5th edition or did you start with 4th?
5e. Started with 5e.
Okay. I have to ask that.
Yeah. Yep.
I started before that.
Yeah.
But
I want to say, I maybe you'll know when it came out exactly, but I want to say that 5e had only come out like the year before I started, maybe 2015-ish, 2014-ish.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Basically, I went through spurts of playing literally every system but Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Because that's what our GM wanted to play.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just a sucker for a good story.
Yeah. Same.
So
Take me on the ride.
And I'll get super invested in a character. We started 5th edition, and I've been harassing Doug about getting about role playing. Threatened to show him during Anime Boston, and that just didn't happen. But I ran a one-shot for like brand new players.
I have to ask, knowing that you're D&D, have you ever seen or heard this CD?
I found it.
Oh.
I found it on Spotify, actually.
Yes,
I know where this is going.
Yes, this is the only official Dungeons and Dragons soundtrack. Our sponsor with Home Circle Media, Gavin Goska, is part of Midnight Syndicate, who created this.
Terrific.
It's a small world after all.
So, shameless plug for Home Circle Media and Midnight Syndicate. If you're in the Ohio area and you can get out to, I forget what the name of that huge park is out there, but Midnight Syndicate puts on performances in the fall. I know they have a huge one that's coming up this year. They're changing some things around from what I've heard.
It's in Sandusky, and I've been there, and Cedar Point.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I knew I'd get there eventually.
Because I was like, it's not Canopy Lake Park, because that's nowhere near
New
Ohio.
Hampshire.
I know, that's what came to mind at first. I knew it began with a C, but
And it's one of those I've been there, so I.
So, shameless plug for our sponsor with Gavin Goska and Home Circle Media and his other project, Midnight Syndicate.
Doug, you know what we need to do? We need to do a show, maybe not necessarily a Sunday show, but a bonus content where we get a bunch of previous guests and do a D&D one-shot.
Yeah.
Josie sounds like he's down.
Oh, I'm so down.
We could probably do it for a Wednesday night. If
Wednesdays are good.
because I have Wednesdays off from the second job, so probably it would be like a 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. start. Yeah, 7 a.m. start. Forget that. 7 p.m. start, just in case it's a 3-hour.
And
You know, it's funny. We have recently in my D&D group been playing some early morning sessions because now like some of us are. There's one guy in Tennessee. There's one guy in Colorado. We were like, you know what? Let's try earlier. And man, a nice bright and early D&D session is kind of the way to go.
Whereas I'm in a campaign that's starting. The live stream starts in a week from tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
But because we're all scattered, it's basically 9 p.m. Eastern. So it's like the very end of my day.
Yeah.
But I'm absolutely loving the character I built for this.
Yeah, nice.
And I've never built a character before, so we were going to do a special on character development and how to build a character and create something. And
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it would be great to have you on. I know, Rick, you said you're like me. You're getting into the world of RPG, and
I'm just starting. Yeah.
I just love D&D. I love sharing that with new people.
Well, how would you go about? I mean, what? Now, me being completely new to the world of D&D and Magic the Gathering, but with D&D, you have so much where you could build your character. I mean,
it's all about what do you want the character to do?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you want the character to hit things? Do you want the character to be more magic based? Where do you want that magic to come from?
So
I kind of think about it like Lord of the Rings.
I gotta ask,
nice.
how much of your personality goes into the character?
As much as you want.
I have 2 characters for 2 very different campaigns currently. Both are extensions of me, but neither one is conclusively. Like, one's a very chaos, very silly character that reflects certain aspects of my personality for sure. The other one is very, very serious, very much the responsible one of a party of thieves, basically.
Which would you say is your favorite? The chaos or the
I don't know. I've only built a couple of characters for D&D in 20 years that I didn't like.
Mm.
Sometimes they take on a life of their own and they become far bigger, far more than I anticipated. For example, one Pathfinder character I built was a ninja, and just the party dynamics and how I got jumped into the campaign, the backstory. We had one session so intense that me and one of the other players, because of how the session went, we were both in tears at the end of it.
Oh, wow.
And the GM was like he hadn't quite figured out that this was because of the character stuff, not personal. And once he figured that out, and once we explained that to him, he's like, "Oh, then I did my job right." Yeah, you did.
Well,
that was amazing.
I don't know what it is in Pathfinder, but in D&D, he would have definitely awarded you inspiration for that. Because that
was it was just a really, really intense roleplay scene, and one of my best friends from college. We've known each other upwards of 20 years at this point. And we oftentimes build characters that butt heads. And every so often we'll at the end of a session where we're yelling at each other in character, we'll just be like, "Are we okay?
This is not us, right? This is them." Yeah, okay, cool.
Friend to friend, we cool. In character, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
Now, Rick, I know that you said you're a fan of isekais, and have you seen Bofuri?
That's not an isekai.
Love it.
It's not an isekai, but it has
multiple times.
It has that feel to it. But the reason I bring that up is
I know where you're going with this, and it's my story.
Angela created Maple in an RPG
for a battle royale one shot.
No.
For a battle royale one shot, I was building a character, and I'm like, "What stupid thing can I do?" Because it was a one shot, so I didn't get super invested in the character. and we had just finished Bow Fury. So fuck it, I'm gonna build Maple. And I built it as a paladin and just basically dumped everything into con and defense and back to AC. And with the bonuses that we were given, I literally, when I did the math the next morning, I took damage equal to 3 times my total hit points.
Oh my god.
And what killed me was make a dex save. Because a good paladin, dex is the dump stat.
Oh my.
And
but I think that's the way to go, Rick, is to think about it like whatever your favorite show, whatever your favorite anime, favorite movie, like you can go as simple as Lord of the Rings.
Find a character that speaks to you.
Yeah.
And interpret and go with an interpretation of that.
And it does not have to be fantasy related. I currently am playing a campaign where I swear to God, I think we're in session 71. Our next session is, I think, 71 session. And that character is loosely based. He's a half-orc banker, but he's a oh my gosh, he rages. Barbarian. He's a barbarian, so he can rage, but he is built very, very similarly to the character from Jason Bateman's character on Ozark.
Oh gosh.
Who is a money launderer.
Yeah.
And so, but he's very calm and collected. And so I've based my half-orc on him, and he doesn't want to get into the dirt and everything. But if he has to, then he can rage.
He rages.
Like my chaos character is a level 14, half monk, half rogue, and basically inspiration was one part Avatar: The Last Airbender, one part Captain Jack Sparrow, and then and then one part Arya Stark.
Oh shit! Great.
All kind of rolled into one.
Yeah.
All kind of rolled into one, and because part of the backstory was I was part of the crew for a pirate ship.
Sweet.
Because one of the other players, because we all got a magic item, and one of the other players, his magic item was the pirate ship.
Oh, sweet.
That's cool.
And that campaign for Arc 1, a large part of that was spent in what amounts to Disney World, but not Disney World. And with this, and the group meshed so well.
I have to ask, how many levels of rogue and how many levels of monk?
We started at level 12, so it was 6 and 6.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And now it is 6 rogue, 7 monk, 1 life cleric. And that is because I decided I wanted a patron because everybody else had a patron.
Yeah.
But my patron is a fire god.
Awesome.
Now, Josey, would you bring Kaeya into the world of D&D?
Oh man, what would he be? What I would need help building Kaeya for sure.
I would probably have to. I'd probably have to play that or watch somebody play that to get a feel for that.
I'm guessing he would definitely have some arcane elements because he would need all of the frost. So we would have Ray of Frost to begin. What's that?
No pirate?
Yeah, right.
Honestly, that sounds like. Honestly, if we're gonna go that route, to bring this back to Magic the Gathering, honestly, the Strixhaven stuff might be good, and then do like half sorcerer, half rogue.
Sorcerer probably would be the way to go. Yeah.
Because the Prisma, I actually have a character that I built for a campaign that never actually got anywhere, Life, the Universe, everything. But I did the Prismari class. Basically, it's a Strixhaven is a Magic the Gathering arc that they then turned into a D&D supplement book.
Oh. Okay.
And this particular, it's the red blue magic school.
Nice.
and it gave bonus spells. So of course I kind of went with the Game of Thrones motif because I love Game of Thrones and went fire
Yeah.
ice. I kind of went red and blue, fire and ice.
Cool.
So you turned into Todoroki.
Yes, but I didn't realize that I did that. I've
Inadvertently.
She regrets all of her
Inadvertently-
decisions all of a sudden.
nope. I'm just gonna accidentally do that. I'm just gonna accidentally bring that into a new campaign, and go and basically pull some Todoroki stuff in there that no one else is gonna get, but I'm gonna have a chuckle.
There you go. Mild Hysteric says, out of sheer curiosity, how long has the campaign been going, months/years, if we're talking 71 sessions? I only know of D&D from friends, but
Question.
It's an
haven't tried it
excellent
myself.
question. Excellent question. So we started this campaign. I've been with this same group of dudes since July of 2016 for our D&D campaigns, but this is now and some of them were only partially through, but this is now our 5th campaign together. And we started this one in the middle of the pandemic. So we decided, I want to say oh gosh, I guess we're just over 2 years, because I think it was July or maybe even June of 2020 that we decided we were okay to start it virtually. It's a homebrew that 2 of our friends in the group of 7 created. So they co-DM it from their place, and we're all at our own places on our computers on Discord. But yeah, so that's been a little over 2 years, and we try to play once a week. But yeah, 71 sessions in 2 years. That's still pretty good. If you ask me, that's still pretty
That
good as
sounds
far as
like
getting
it's a little
everybody
more
together.
than every other week.
Yeah.
I highly recommend trying out D&D.
Yeah.
If you're,
I
if
didn't
there's-
know how much fun I would have. Like, I think, well, and of course, I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries, and everything in the early 90s, Unsolved Mysteries was blaming on the satanic D&D crowd, right?
Oh,
Because the
When
early
my-
90s, huge push
when
for
my
all of that
parents
crap.
when my parents found out in the early 2000s that I was getting into this stuff, they were not happy.
Yeah.
But-
But honestly, if they knew what it was, like, oh my
But
god.
I think they decided to stop asking questions once they realized that I wasn't out drinking and I was always coming home on time for when they told me to be home.
Yeah.
And if I had to be at work at 5 a.m., I was always home by 10 p.m. the night before.
Yeah.
And mom realized she didn't want to know anymore, other than who drove you home and were any of you and please tell me you didn't get in a car with someone who'd been drinking.
Yeah. She didn't care about how many dice you rolled, or
She eventually figured out that once she figured out I wasn't drinking,
That's all it took. Yeah.
it just kind of became a, did you have fun? Yes. What time did you get home? I was home at 10, just like you told me to be.
And on our one-off we did last week, which was my first real-time playing D&D.
Anything.
Or playing anything. I had a blast. Somehow I started the fighting and ended the fighting as a newbie. With having a character, pre-made characters for all of us.
And as the one with roleplay experience, I got handed the healer, which I kind of suspected going in was going to happen.
Yeah, it's necessary.
And so subsequently, I kind of went pacifist route and tried to avoid fighting.
which was tough for her because she likes being chaos.
I do,
As we've heard.
No, I tend to run the gambit at this point. Of early on, I tended to go full aggro, throwing fire at things for sometimes no good reason, or the stupidity of I'm gonna play a random dice roll for stats. Wisdom was the dub stat for this particular instance, which meant intelligence was high enough to know that I shouldn't do this, wisdom of a 10-year-old, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw my dagger at the water elemental. And with the correct, because it was the correct build, we're guaranteed to hit for 1 damage.
Well, as a newbie myself, who has absolutely no experience, I'm looking forward to playing some campaigns. What would be your guys' like most memorable campaigns that you've done?
I mean, my group's first one was Curse of Strahd, which is a famous D&D that they've updated sort of through the years, and now they have a recent 5e update, and it's just the right amount of adventure and it's such a good story, and then on top of that, it's a little scary too. So
honestly, I think for 5th edition specifically, I think one of my most memorable ones was the being forced to build something outside my wheelhouse, because my husband was GMing for the first time and nobody else had any experience with 5th edition.
Yeah.
So I got told, please. So I got asked, "You're the one with the most roleplay experience. Please play a healer." And given my limited experience with 5th edition, my response to my husband was, "Fuck you, I'm not playing a cleric." Because I don't enjoy playing clerics. That's not my thing. So I went with a very defensive tank paladin build.
Yeah.
Played a fire dragonborn. And it was, playing defense was so not me that he actually thought I wasn't enjoying it. But it was... And I got frustrated because the other 2 of the other party members kept hitting me with the AoE stuff, area of effect spells that target an area. I took more damage from party members than I did from enemies. And
Friendly fire.
It was so much fun to build something that I don't typically build.
Yeah.
And when that campaign ended, I had an AC of over 20 at level 3.
Oh, shit. Nice.
Want to throw a quick shout out to our friend Jay Morris, who you've heard us talk about the game. He does have an Indiegogo. It is live right now. I pulled the page up. This is the game that we played last week here live on the show. So if you're interested, check out Faye on Indiegogo. If you're able to make any conventions in the New England area, and you happen to see Jay, talk to him about the game. It was absolutely a blast to play. So,
lots of fun.
Lots of shameless plugging tonight. We are just about out of time. Oh my god, I can't believe the time flew that fast. But before
now we got to give Josey his turn for the shameless plug, because he mentioned that he was streaming Genshin.
Yeah, that's right. I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/jmontanakin. That's just like my middle name, Montana, except I threw in Anakin. So Montanakin. J, the letter J, Montanakin. And you can find me on most socials, Twitter and Instagram, as Josey McCoy, JoseymCcoy. And my website's my full name, JoseyMontanaMcCoy.com.
And any projects that you can talk about? Obviously, we promoted the crap out of Genshin Impact tonight, but any other roles that you have done that you want to talk about or can talk about, tell people where they can find you.
Definitely.
In the games and stuff.
Definitely. If you want to hear me burp into a microphone, you should play Wasteland and look for Troy, because I'm bumming for Boar's Light. That one was really, really fun. But Bat Wheels is going to be on HBO Max and Cartoon Network starting this fall. And if you've got a toddler, 3, 4, 5-year-old, I think they're really going to enjoy it. I know that when I go into the booth for that project, I am channeling 6-year-old Josey. And I think the team knows that. They have a good time watching me as well. But I think it's going to be an absolute riot. I know my kid's going to enjoy it.
Also, Rick, I know that you have Nerd Urbanity. Tell people where they can find you and the stuff that you sell. Like I said at the start of the stream, the figure that we have tonight, everybody knows I like to bring figures for the show. I actually bought from Rick at Rail City Fan Fest. I had to show off that at Kineticon a couple weeks ago, I actually met the voice actor of Yami and got the autograph.
Nice.
Well, we're nerdurbanity.com. We actually just opened this year, and it's been 5 years in the making. A lot of starts and a lot of stops. That's why I took your story, Josie, to heart, to where, there was a lot of things that, we had to do to get to this point right now. Is even, changing our name to another website because somebody stole it. And we drop shipping our stuff. So, we failed a couple of times, but we never let it get us down. But
those strikeouts aren't failures. You know what I'm saying?
No,
they may have struck out, but they weren't failures.
At the same time, I need those strikeouts. We all do. So we get to, dust ourselves off and keep moving forward. But
that's right.
We opened this February. I love what I'm doing. We do it full time. And it's nerdurbanity.com. And please give us a look. And we're hopefully going to progress and keep growing along with everybody else. We plan on being here for a long time and hopefully one day becoming a household name like everybody else.
Hell yeah.
We also want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. All the questions from the chat room were fantastic. I love the fact that the chat was so interactive in this show. We encourage this every week. Come back. If you really enjoyed the show tonight, subscribe to our channel, like the video. If you want to help us out, we have a huge project in the works for next year. Support us on Patreon. Right, the link below my picture, patreon.com/Anime-Zing Radio. We are planning on bringing a voice actor to a convention. We already have a voice actor in the works. Everything's a go. It's just the finances.
It comes down to money. Money makes the world go around.
That's right.
If you want to help us make this dream a reality, we're going to bring a talented young voice actress up to Vermont for a convention. Don't want to say just who yet, but man, this is going to be huge. She's been wanting to get out to more conventions. We're excited to have this chance to bring her to a convention courtesy of Anime-Zing Radio. If you want to be a part of that support, we heartfeltly would appreciate it. Like I said, even if it's $1.
Thank you, Mild Hysterics. They liked and subscribed.
Yes, thank you so much. We are closing in on 200. PucciCon next weekend. We are going to hit that 200 subscriber mark. We've only been on YouTube a little over a year, even though the show's been going for over 8.5. It took me a while to find the new home here and see the growth that we know that we're capable of. And, a huge thank you to Rick from Nerd Urbanity for joining us tonight as the co-host. Again, congratulations for winning the chance in our second try drawing, actually, because the original winner we could not get a hold of. So we respun the wheel to give everybody a second chance.
I'm so lucky. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This was lots of fun. I look forward to meeting all of you in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Josie, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Keep in contact, man. Like I said, I've become a fan of yours. I'll let you know when we figure out when we're going to do our next live RPG.
Absolutely.
So you could if your schedule allows it, you can be a part of that because we would love to have you, especially where you have experience.
I would love to be a part of it. That's great. It's great. Thank you.
I love this. The overlap between my nerd fandoms. It's growing and it's awesome. And I can share all the things.
Again, a big thank you to our sponsors, Home Circle Media and Casey Fox, for all the support that they've shown us since we started this show way back on April 6, 2014, which is amazing to think I've been doing this that long, almost every week. Some breaks here and there, typical holiday breaks. I had a month that I didn't do any live shows because of moving from Massachusetts to New York and getting settled in and stuff like that.
Life, the universe, everything.
Really, big thank you to all the fans that are tuning in. Next weekend, we will not have a typical Sunday night live show. Instead, we're going to do for PoochieCon New Jersey what we did for PoochieCon Pennsylvania. We're planning on doing 2 3-hour live streams, one Saturday and one Sunday, live from our table. So definitely tune in. I'm not sure exactly what time we're going to start that, but keep an eye on our Facebook page. Like I said, subscribe to the channel. You'll be notified when we go live. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody who comes out to PoochieCon next weekend. Thank you so much to Mild Hysterics and everybody who is in the chat tonight with these awesome, awesome questions. Like I said before, I love the interaction. That is some of the funnest parts of this show, is seeing the interaction. Not just be like, it's an honor to talk to you myself, Josie, but giving the fans a chance to ask questions. You know, Mild Hysterics being in Southeast Asia, she may never have a chance to come to the U.S. to see you at a convention.
Yeah.
But she was able to talk to you tonight and learn from you, and I love this. And you know, like I said, we have some huge guests coming up in September. We've got some open dates in August we're looking to fill. But September 4th, we're going to have voice actor Aaron Campbell's going to be joining us. Really excited that he wanted to come back on, and it's going to be a lot of fun chatting with him. September 11th is an open date right now. There's a chance that we might look at Colossal Con East. I'm not sure if that's feasible yet, but it's something we're looking into. If we do go to Colossal Con, I probably won't have a show that night because of traveling back from Pennsylvania. September 18th, we have Ari Lynn Cosplay, who we met at PoochieCon, Pennsylvania. She was a walk-on, a Judges Award winner in the Masquerade. And then we have Scree Cosplay, who's going to be joining us September 25th, who we met at Kineticon a couple weeks ago. So
nice.
Really,
I've actually met them through social media before. Yeah.
So really excited about having them on the show. A lot of good stuff coming down the pike. We have some amazingly talented voice actors that we're in talks with about possibly getting on the show as well. So keep an eye on our Facebook page. I try to update the schedule as often as I can, but obviously, as Angela likes to say, life, the universe, everything sometimes gets in the way, and I kind of, slack off a little bit. But
we're all human.
Exactly.
Until next week, when we are live at PoochieCon, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Stay safe out there with all the crazy weather going on, whether it's the flooding or the heat, the humidity, whatever the case may be. Stay safe. Keep enjoying the games, the animes. Stay nerdy. And we will see you again right here on Anime-Zing Radio on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook.